Pushkin.
Man, Will Smith.
What is up, brother?
I
How you
so
feeling,
appreciate
man?
you doing this.
I'm really excited. Really excited.
We've had like, a number of incredible guests on the show, but man, to have you is just a real honor,
Oh, thank you, man. I'll try not to disappoint.
I know you won't. We're talking a little bit about Quincy just before we got rolling.
Yeah.
I met you. I was in Havana, Cuba.
Wow.
Randomly. And you know what it is in Havana, like there's you can barely, they say there's internet and you can't get internet.
No, yeah,
like, nothing really, the blackouts, the AC, nothing really quite works. So I was walking around, I was lost looking for a restaurant in downtown Havana, and I saw a bunch of satellite trucks. And I was with my boys. Mm-hmm. Like, that's a little weird just considering the infrastructure situation around here. Like, what's this? So we walk up and we ask there's some Cubans like looking up the steps. They're like, well, hey, what's going on, guys? They're like, we don't know. I go, all right. So I just walked up the steps. I guess because I was American, they didn't question anything. I walk in, I see Esperanza Spalding in the foyer.
Oh, wow.
I was like, and I had just met her the week before. I go, Esperanza, what are you? She goes, I'm packing. I'm literally about to catch a flight, but you should go upstairs. There's a bunch going on upstairs. I go, for real? She goes, go upstairs. So we walk up like 5 flights up this old, beautiful theater in downtown Havana, in old Havana. And crazy music legends. Yep. Crazy music legends. Chucho Valdez, like Cuban music legends. Then I see Herbie Hancock.
Yeah.
Then I see you.
That was wild. There was Quincy. What was that? It was the
International Jazz Fest.
The International Jazz Fest.
Didn't even know what was going on, man.
Yeah.
And I saw Quincy. You left pretty quickly after I got there. But then I saw Quincy at some point sitting at a table by himself. I go, that's kind of wild. I'm going to go say hi.
Yeah.
So just like, hey, shake his hand. Just want to say hello. Yeah. We ended up having a 2-hour dinner.
Wow.
Kicking it, exchange info.
That's exactly how Quincy is.
Kept a friendship.
Yeah.
Till and it's just like, it was beautiful. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Nah, he was at his, he loved people. That was his thing. Like, everybody was so interesting to him. He saw everybody as like a work of art, and he was always looking and wanted to know where you came from and where you grew up, and He just loved that kind of interaction.
When did you first meet him?
I met Quincy actually the night Benny Medina was the real live Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Right.
So
he worked at Warner Records.
He worked at Warner Records, and I met Quincy the night that Benny took me to Quincy's house to pitch me for the show.
Wow.
And it was walking in and seeing Quincy Jones. It was I think he just won the Soul Train Lifetime Achievement Award or something like that. So I was coming to his house after the show, and we met, and that night he made me audition in the living room.
That same night
I met him. I went for a party to talk, and he cleared the living room out and made me audition for the show, impromptu, out of nowhere. He had a script for an old Morris Day and the Time, a failed pilot for Morris Day and the Time. And he was like, hey, just read this script, practice this, go do this. And I auditioned in his living room at a party.
That's insane.
Yeah, he was like that too.
Did you, in that moment, what was your thought process?
It was so. I flew in. I thought it was a party for Quincy's house, and Benny Medina. I had met Benny at Arsenio. It was during the time that the Arsenio Hall show was like the top of everything.
Right.
So I had gone broke after my first round of success. That happens.
I've heard about that.
Yeah. You shouldn't do that. If you could at all avoid going broke after your first round of success, you should. Yeah, I say it, Freudian slip. First round of excess.
Right. That's how it happens.
That's how it happens. Yeah. So I met Benny Medina, and he pitched me the idea. And Benny had gone from Watts to Beverly Hills. So he was talking to Quincy about doing a show about his life, where a black kid moves in with a white family in Beverly Hills. And so he takes it, and we walk in Quincy's house, and Quincy, he was a little toasty. It was his house. He was a little toasty, and he said, "Hey man, Quincy," he said, "Did Benny talk to you about the show?" I was like, "Yeah, a little bit." He said, "Yeah, where you from?" I said, "Philly." He said, "All right, your character's from Philly." And I was like, and literally we've never met in that first. He's like, "Your character's from Philly." My character, okay. And he said, "All right, so Benny went from Watts to Beverly Hills." And he said, "This is Bel Air." His house, Quincy's house, was actually in Bel Air. He said, "This is Bel Air. So the show's not going to Beverly Hills. The character's going from Philly to Bel Air." He said, "Bel Air make Beverly Hills look like public housing." And he said, "All right, what's your rap name?" And I said, "Well, I'm with DJ Jazzy Jeff, and I'm the Fresh Prince." "All right, cool. That's the show, The Fresh Prince of Bel Air." And that's literally how the show got created, named, with Quincy in his living room. And he was like, "Hey, we're going to have an audition. And he just cleared the living room out. And I read the script. I've read did a couple scenes
of the Morris Day,
from Morris Day and the Time, a failed Morris Day and the Time.
We should probably resurrect that. That sounds
like, but yeah, Quincy was like that. He knew how to catch lightning strikes. He knew how to put the right people in the right place and wait for magic.
Yeah, it seems like it's beautiful that you guys connected the way you did, the way you both straddle music and film and television and just kind of all levels of entertainment.
Yeah.
But also, and I don't know if this was like a chicken or the egg scenario, but maybe you were both destined to meet in the sense because you both have a similar also energy. And belief in sort of almost as anything is possible sort of sensibility. You know what I mean?
It's so crazy you're saying that. So my album is called, I'm going back and forth between saying boats or based on a true story, right? So but the name is based on a true story. And I've written so much stuff in the last 2 years, I couldn't get it into one. So rather than, trying to jam it into one project, I'm doing it like a television show. So I'm releasing it in seasons. So I have 3 seasons. So I'm not calling it an album. I'm calling it season 1 of, based on a true story. So season 1 is called Rave in the Wasteland. And this story does have a point. And season 2 is a Quincy Jones quote. And season 2 is called The Gift of Madness. And somebody asked Quincy, they said, "Quincy, you picked Michael Jackson, you picked Oprah Winfrey, and you picked Will Smith. Like, what are you seeing that the rest of us don't see?" And he said, all 3 of them have the gift of madness. And he said, they believe that impossible things can happen. And he said, that is an absolute necessity for the kind of success that they've achieved.
Wow.
So I named season 2 of my music is called The Gift of Madness.
Wow. Now, it almost sounds like a gift and a curse in a way. The way, obviously I think it's writ large. I think that's probably a positive thing.
Yeah.
But
there's a certain amount of delusion that is necessary to achieve things that haven't been achieved before. Okay. You have to be, quote unquote, insane if you're going to attempt something that no one's ever done before. That's almost the definition of insanity.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a certain amount of deluded naivete that is necessary to manifest things that have not been manifest. And, this is a thought universe. And that there's a Confucius quote I love. He says, "He who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right." Right? And the idea that what you think and what you believe is the first step to manifestation. You can't create it if you can't see it in your mind. If you can't believe it, you can't bring it out of the quantum field into this 3D reality. If you don't believe it, you have to have a certain diluted certainty in your magical abilities.
Now, and actually that's your second verse in Beautiful Scars, but the third verse of the song, I feel like sums that up beautifully. That's one of my favorite verses of the songs that I've heard so far.
I love that.
Yes,
so that is absolutely what that verse is meant to communicate. You know, there are no limits. Ascend through the universe. I believe in me like it's religion, but I am the only one who converts. Conversation with the congregation. The scripture is in the verse. I manifest through my mentality. The only real is my reality. You know, so it's like I love trying to get those ideas into the music to be able to share the cheat codes, you know? And it's like, you know, one of the things with my kids, there was a thing I used to say to my kids all the time when, you know, they would say, "Oh no, I can't do that." I was like, "No, don't think that. Don't think that." Like the pattern of thoughts to emotions that lead to actions that become your life, right? And it's like the first gate is what you think. Like, don't think that. Only think things that are like aligned with what you want to manifest.
When did that become like concrete in your head? Like, I mean, it seems like maybe you've been operating, I don't know if you were operating that way subconsciously before, or if this was always sort of a conscious manifestation of your sort of.
I think I knew as a child that the energy in a room is a major part of what happens out of that room. Like what the energy is, you can't create an opposition to what the feelings and the energy are in the room. And I knew, you know, very young that my imagination was the center of my ability to create. And I knew that if I was in a bad mood, I was going to make bad things happen. And, you know, sort of a negative aspect of that for me is I learned how to pretend, right? So you pretend positive energy and strangely you'll start to actually feel good.
Wow.
Right? But the problem is that the underlying issues are still there, and you know they'll definitely creep up on you.
That makes sense. The residual sort of.
Yeah. You gotta at some point you have to come out of the delusive positive energy, and you have to make your way through your interior valley of the shadow of death, right, and come to authentic faith and trust and positivity.
Yeah. That's looking forward. I do want to go back to the start of your music career, Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince.
It was such a beautiful time. So Jeff comes from a musical family, and Jeff's brother had 10,000 records. He had one of the biggest record collections of anybody in Philly. And when Jeff was 12 years old, he had a bout with cancer. So Jeff wasn't allowed to come out of the house between 12 and 16.
Wow.
And he was in his basement with 10,000 records for the process of beating cancer and all of that. and we had to go to Jeff's house to see him. Right?
Was that that's pretty that's kind of like heady for like a 16-year-old to be, another kid.
Yeah,
you know,
so it's crazy. At that time I didn't know much about it and what it was, and so I didn't really understand what was going on. And by the time we met, he was like, coming out of it. But he had spent those 4 years in his mother's basement. We did all of our original recording in his mother's basement.
Wow.
So I don't have an image of Jeff in his childhood home. I cannot recall an image where he's not standing behind his turntables. Jeff was always behind his turntables. He would be behind his turntables 12 hours a day, but 3 and 4 hour stretches where he wouldn't sit down.
Wow.
And that's the only image I have of him. I'm like trying to, when I was writing my book, I was trying to remember Jeff's in the kitchen. I was like, I don't even have an image of Jeff opening the refrigerator. Like always in front of his turntable.
What was it? And his parents were like cool with it.
Yeah, it was like, his mother wanted him in the house.
Okay, whatever that took. Yeah, that makes sense.
She almost lost her baby. She was like, as long as he's in the house, y'all can do whatever you want down there.
But then the span of time between like 16 and you guys are in the basement and you never see Jeff out of the basement behind the turntable. Well, you guys in London recording.
By the time he was 16, he was so used to being in his basement. From 16 to 20, he was still in there by choice.
I didn't know that first, because you guys get signed to Jive, which is, at the time, or maybe still is, London-based.
Yeah.
But you guys recorded the first album in London.
In London, yeah. So,
and kind of write it too, maybe even?
Yeah, so what happened is we back then, you had to have everything written before you went in the studio. You couldn't go in the studio and write in the studio. So we had prepared all of the music. And, that was at a time there was no Pro Tools. You couldn't record at home. Right. So it was like, I think Tascam had just come out with like a 4-track recorder. And that was the first time you could just at least get something onto a 4-track to hear it. So Jive, the company was Zomba. They were based in London. So we had recorded most of the music, or written most of the music in Philly, and then we flew to London to actually go into the studio.
That's so wild to me. In my mind, I just would have thought you guys did it in New York, or something. But
nope.
To go from we're Philly, and we're doing hip hop, and we're repping Philly hip hop.
Yeah,
and we're flying over. Forget New York, going to London
to record. It was my first introduction to how important traveling is. It's like, it blasted my mind open. Like, they didn't have steak knives. I was like, how do you not have? Why would you?
What did they use?
We were cutting steak with butter knives. I was like, well, we have steak knives. I was really surprised. I thought a place like England would at least have steak knives.
Refined, sawing at your meat.
No, but it was like just the cars and the steering wheel on the other side and driving on the other side of the street. It's amazing how that can blast a kid's mind open. You don't even consider the idea that people drive on the other side of the street, and you get these patterns in your mind that get locked, and having an experience that pops it open, it just really helps to open you to new ideas and new possibilities. I think it was really great for me and Jeff to be listening to radio in London while we were recording our first album. So it expanded. Well, mine, Jeff was already musically expanded, but it really expanded my understanding, even the idea that they were loving hip hop in a foreign country. It never had dawned on me that hip hop was outside of New York, Philadelphia, New Jersey.
You've talked about Rakim, Melly Mel being two of your guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Was Slick Rick at all like big for you?
Yeah, Slick Rick was later. Slick Rick was down the line. Yeah.
Okay.
So for me, it was Grandmaster Caz was my whole style and everything is based on Grandmaster Caz. So he was the first rapper that I heard put comedic punchlines. And there was something about that validated who I was. Wait, I could put a joke in a rap? And, people would be cracking up at Grandmaster Caz's punchline. And he would do a thing where, the DJ would stop the beat on the fourth bar so everybody could hear the punchline and then drop the beat back in. And he was the first person that I heard do that. And that totally became my style.
You and Jeff would work that out.
We would work that out, yeah. So there would be no Fresh Prince if there was no Grandmaster Caz.
Wow. So that was, and then Slick Rick comes in when?
So Slick Rick was Slick and Dougie. That's all like mid to late 80s.
Okay.
But the summer that we dropped, 1986, I think is arguably
right, because
one of the best times. So it was Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince and Eric B and Rakim, Run DMC, LL Cool J, Beastie Boys, all of that 86 to 88, and Slick and Dougie were right on the back end of that.
Right. It'll be like 87, 88, I think, when their Def Jam record comes out.
Yeah.
As you start to develop, you told the story about getting the Fresh Prince.
Mm-hmm.
When you're super, very successful, despite being broke, blowing the money, doing excess. You're a highly successful musician,
Yeah. Well, 89 we won the Grammy, and we were already on the road to bankruptcy while we were winning the Grammy.
While you're up there. The highs and the lows.
Yeah, for sure.
But when you get the Fresh Prince then, is there any part of you that's like, I'm just going to do, obviously you released some more records as Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. Mm-hmm. How did you manage both at that time?
So, at that point, once I was broke, I was like, I don't ever want to do that again.
Yeah.
So I never want to do that again. So that is when I went full beast mode. I was like, I am doing this TV show. I'm going to release music every single year. And, then as I started to transition to movies, I was trying to do a movie, album, and the TV show every year. And,
it's crazy.
Music kind of took a little bit of a backseat, which is a part of my inspiration now. I've actually never concentrated on music the way that I've wanted to. Music was always second to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, or it was second, even when I got things to go together like Men in Black. So we do Men in Black, and then the song is also hit for the soundtrack.
I was tripping though, because that, I was looking it up. I was like, that didn't even. Men in Black was a huge song. For anyone who was there to remember, that song was huge. Still is huge. Didn't even chart. I can't be. But it's like it wasn't even officially released as a single. That's why it didn't chart.
Yeah, no.
So it really was like a secondary.
Music was always the mistress. And she doesn't like that. So I'm trying to devote to her.
And even I went back trying to look up press you might have done around Big Willie style.
Yeah.
It's not a lot. You didn't really promote those that much.
Yeah, so, with Big Willie style, that was coming off of Men in Black. So I was trying to use the momentum of that. But, Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince have never even gone on tour, right? So we've done dates on other tours. We did dates on Run's House. And we've been on and off of other people's tours.
You never did a headlining tour together?
Never did a headlining tour. So this will be the first time ever that, we put together a tour, and I get to headline a world tour. Never.
So all that live audio on like He's a DJ, I'm the Rapper, that's from just like one-off
shows. So
wow.
We would do the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air would shoot on Friday nights. So what we would do is the taping would be Friday night. We fly out. We do a show Saturday night somewhere, and then Sunday back on a plane to be back at work on the Fresh Prince on Monday. So we were getting one show here, one show there, but never have actually done a tour. This will be the first time in my life that I'm going to put together a full tour, full show, full performance.
Headlining. Do you have it worked out yet?
I have my 90 minutes. I had never been on stage for 90 minutes before. So I did 2 shows in San Diego a couple of months ago. It was wild. It was the world is so desperate for nostalgia right now.
Yeah.
The world wants that so bad, and it's like people just yearning for a time when things were a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So that, and then the latter half of the show, I transitioned into the new music, and it was beautiful. How people went with me, and because it's really in one arena, I'm a seasoned artist, and then in this new space, I'm like brand new.
That's a weird experience. That's a weird space you exist in.
So I'm trying to find that new way. So it's the first time I've ever done 90 minutes. Was 2 months ago
in San Diego.
San Diego, I've never been on a music stage for 90 minutes. I've never done more than 60 minutes.
If I wasn't sold on catching the tour now, I'm definitely coming out. That's crazy to me. The nostalgia of it. I mean, going back and listening to Big Willie and Millennium. Yeah. I mean, that was a trip for me. There were some real interesting things when I was going back and revisiting them. I mean, I owned both in the day and played them incessantly, but going back and revisiting that now, like Nas is on it. Like first of all, I didn't even realize going back Tone and Poke.
Tone and Poke, the Trackmasters.
How did you get that? So when you go to do your first solo album, you probably could have, at that point, you probably could have, I mean, you had done, hold on, let's think about this. Between Code Red and Big Willie Style, it's 6 Degrees of Separation comes out.
Yeah, so I was doing a movie between each one, the television show and a movie in between.
You film and release Bad Boys, Independence Day, and Men in Black.
Yes.
So I mean, you're like,
no vacation.
No nothing. And you end Fresh Prince, you rap Fresh Prince. Yeah. So like all that's happened in the 4 years between the last Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince record and Big Willie Style.
Yeah.
So how do you end up, and I love the Trackmasters. I love Tone and Poke.
Yeah, they were the truth.
How do you end up with them? How do you end up with them being the...
How do we meet Tone and Poke? I think, so Big Willie Style, I think they were signed to the label at that time.
Columbia.
Yeah, they were signed to Columbia. And I don't remember how we met, the first time we met, but they were like the top of the top. They were producing everybody at that time, and they were, Nas and Mary J. Blige, so they had hits. They were the guys of the moment.
Right.
And that was a little bit tough because Jeff at that point had produced everything.
Yeah.
So we had never worked with outside producers.
There was some stuff on the last one, right? Like Teddy Riley did a song.
But even that was coming through Jeff.
Okay.
So so this was the first time that I went with producers and worked separately on music. So
was that a tough conversation to have?
Yeah. It's Jeff is real easygoing. Jeff is real easygone, and he had starred in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, so he was cool at that time. But it was a little bit of a difficult time because I was trying to do something new. I was trying to find a new direction, a new voice, not unsimilar to now.
Right.
I think that might be the central human skill. to be able to transform and transition. It's like to be able to make the adjustment. This one's bigger than that, but it's it is. I'm thinking about it. I hadn't thought about it. It's a really similar kind of seeking for the new artistic expression.
Well, the trajectory again, Fresh Prince, that as a sort of the point of view for making the music into Big Will, Willie Style Millennium. That as being like the newly minted movie star.
Yes.
That's like that.
Big Willie, taking it full Big Willie.
That's that point of view. And right now it feels more personal than ever. I mean, although Fresh Prince probably was personal too, it's just life's a lot lighter when you're 18, 19, 20.
It's different when you're as an actor, it's kind of you, but you're playing a character, whereas the music is much more personal.
Yeah.
And I think what happened in the first part of my career, I rejected anything that wasn't happy and joyful and getting jiggy with it. I was living fully in that space, and I kind of banished, those other parts of myself. So this is really the first time in my career with music, for sure, that I'm allowing a fuller spectrum of my thoughts and feelings to be delivered in the music.
Although Millennium, you end with The Rain.
Yeah, with
which
The
is
Rain.
similar. And you got, as far as I can tell,
I put it as the last song. I put it as the last song. I was like, okay, this one got a little sadness in it. So we're gonna put that as the last song.
It's incredible though, man. And Jill Scott's amazing. I think that's like one of her first like features on a record. You know what I mean? Jill Scott.
That was one of the first records that I worked with somebody to write. Common wrote that with me.
Really?
Yeah, The Rain.
What?
So me and Common worked together on that. So
how did that come together?
So he was just in the studio. He was in another studio. He was working on. He was like, "Yo, what you working on?" And he literally just came in the studio and started throwing lines, and me and Common wrote The Rain together.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's been people who said that were doing that with Nas on Big Willie Style.
Nas, yeah.
Is that true or no?
Yeah. So what was the track? It was Just Cruising.
Just Cruising.
We did one called Just Cruising with Nas. Yeah, so wrote that with Nas and wrote The Rain with Common.
That's wild, man.
Yeah.
That's really wild.
Collaboration is everything, man. This is like opening up to other ideas and other voices and hearing, what people would do differently. Right. And it's like how Common's mind works and how Nas's mind works. And for me, it was trying to reach for people that I admired to like pull something out of me. I wasn't ready at that time.
The genre had changed so much too between, I mean, just like your career changed so much between Code Red and Big Willie Style. It's like between Code Red and Big Willie Style, it's like Illmatic and It Was Written comes out.
Yeah.
Life After Death, or Ready to Die and Life After Death, Me Against the World and All Eyes on. It's like there was like a big, it just changed so much.
I always wanted to rap like that, and I just never gave myself permission, to make things that weren't at the top of joyful energy. To be able to settle back a little bit into different emotions and different energies. And this is the first time I always wanted hits. Yeah. I wanted big, giant, global hit records. And I knew how to make, and still know how to make records that will play in 190 countries in the world, So I'm trying to release that outcome desire.
Yeah.
And now I really want to express myself, right? I want to like explore what's going on in here and share it and find that connective space with other people who could enjoy the experience of my testimony.
Yeah.
Like what happened I saw with my book, when you open and are vulnerable in that way, it is helpful.
Yeah.
It's helpful because, you know, we all think we're by ourselves.
Did you know you were going to be that open when you started the book? Like, did you, because like I was like, wow, this is, you are being vulnerable, which was such a gift, but.
No, I certainly didn't know that when I started, you know, but as I got into it, the medium lends itself to more openness.
Yeah.
It's a little more difficult for me doing that with the music because you got to make it rhyme. You know, so
you figured it out on that. You know.
There's another thing when you got in a book, you just say it and you know, and you have so much space in literature. You have so much space to make your point.
And you made use of it though, and I'm sure there's more. I'm sure you could. I mean, I know you're probably gonna do another one.
Oh, for sure.
I hope you do. But that's a substantial book, and you know, I just couldn't help but thinking about it when I'm listening to Beautiful Scars and First Love, which will be out by the time we release this. Like
with India Martinez,
such a gorgeous track.
Yeah, man.
I mean, she's incredible.
Yeah,
on that
she
intro.
is the truth.
Can you talk about First Love a bit?
So the way I'm creating my current music is anything that sparks. I'm making a song, right? I used to be directed by what I thought would land. And so now I'm not paying attention to whether it lands or not. I'm only focusing on an accurate expression of whatever came up for me, whatever came up inside of me. So with the First Love, I saw this video of in Cuba with these kids learning flamenco. And it was this really strange mix of kids in Cuba. And it was the flamenco guitars and all of that, you know, and it's like flamenco is really sexy.
Yeah.
And, you know, these kids were like 12 or 13. And I just watched, there was a little boy and a little girl, and how they were looking at each other. And I was like, wow, you see that look. And you remember like that first time you like fell in love with somebody.
Yeah.
That feeling of absolute joy and possibility and anxiety and all of that stuff that gets mixed up in First Love.
Yeah.
And then I was noticing how we lose the ability to be that open after we get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we're adults, we don't even allow ourselves to fall into that like delicious, mystical place of first love.
I don't think anyone would accept it if you try. You know, your friends would be, but what are you doing? What are you thinking? Like, come on, you know? Like,
but it's really, and I was looking at those kids, I was like, wow, that's what we all really want.
Right.
We really want to feel that with no fear at all.
Yeah.
Like, and then I saw India perform in Marbella, and I saw her perform, and she had a flamenco piece. I was like, so I pitched the idea to her, and she loved it, and she went in the studio. So
did you have words already, or?
I had the emotion of what I wanted to do, but it was the flamenco hip hop blend that I got excited about. So we went back and forth for a couple of months, and the record First Love is what came out of it.
It's really amazing, man.
Yeah.
It's funny, I was sick about 4 years ago, and I threw on your audiobook 3 years ago. And I spent like 5 days in bed, just like with your voice in there. And your book it blew me away.
Oh, thank you, man.
And it made, just, I think the way it is with a book that was that personal.
Yeah,
and that you read it too, and the way you produced it, it really was like, man, I feel like I know this guy now, weird, creating that weird. But from what I could glean from that, what tripped me out is it seems like there's this kind of duality with you that's there's the highly rational will.
Yeah.
It's accepted to MIT, very mathematical, precision-based rationality. And then it does seem though there's the flip side of that, which is like the intuitive artist. No, I'm gonna go sign a record deal.
Yeah.
And me and Jazz are gonna go tour the world.
I learned, and one of the things I talk about in the book, I learned that as much as our minds want the universe to be rational and logical, it's not. The universe is magical, right? So that's why we love movies like The Matrix, because deep down inside, we know that's how it really is. That's why we like it's that the universe, and you can say God, or you can say source, or you can say the quantum field, whatever you think the energy is of the universe that is there, that you can tap into, right? That's why Star Wars, the Force, in martial arts, it's chi. Everybody talks about a source energy that you can tap into, and you become exponential, right? So very young, I connected my thoughts to that energy that is this magical source, God, spiritual energy that creates things exponential, that's directed by your desires and your energy and your mind and your heart, Right. So I've been aware of that. This is the first time in my life, probably the past 3 years, where I am fully committed to that energy from a spiritual standpoint. In the past couple of years, I've read every holy book. I went looking for God and found him.
Yeah, it's turning up in your in the lyrics for this album.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Fresh Prince to Big Willie, Millennium to what you're putting out now. This is the most introspective.
Yes, for sure. It's like, I feel like I've been blessed with cheat codes. I've been blessed with secrets, and I'm trying to figure out how to share them without sounding like the crazy dude. I want y'all to get some of this abundance.
Was that the impetus then to start doing music again?
Yeah, what happened, it really started for me on emancipation. So I did a movie in a slave drama a couple of years ago. And, it was really brutal going into the mindset and the absolute malice and malevolence of slavery, and holding my mind in that place for 3 months. And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And I ended up having to stay in that emotional field for 9 months.
Because you're not sure when you're going back to shooting.
So, right,
you don't want to get out of it.
Yeah, so I was staying in. And
what does that look like, though? Like, I never even thought about that. What do you do to? I mean, you're Will Smith. You're the product of your parents, of Philly, of Quincy Jones, of all these magical, wonderful people, and you're putting yourself into a role that is, and obviously this is our lineage.
Yeah,
sure enough. But in 2020 or whatever, you're having to put yourself in the mindset of a slave, of a person who's being treated as less than human. What did you do to do that?
There, as an actor, you consume all of the literature, and there are tapes of former slaves and things, or enslaved people, and you consume it all, and then there's a point where something clicks, and for me, the point where it clicked on emancipation, I said I wanted to use the real shackles, right? They were like, hey, we can make them lighter and we can do that. I was like, no, I want the actual shackles. So they found, an actual one they were going to rebuild, but they put it around my neck, and I was chained, and it was on my neck, and I was standing there with it, and then the key wouldn't open it. And we're like, oh no. And it was stuck. And my heart starts pounding. And I'm standing there, and in that moment, it just started opening up. Now, I have people that are running around like desperately trying to get this thing off of my neck. But in those 15 minutes where they couldn't get it off, it was like the concept exploded inside of me of what it's like to be at the mercy of other people's whims. And I just understood. It was like, wow, I'm sitting here shook with people running around trying to get it off. What would it feel like if people didn't give a shit? What would it feel like if people would kick me and punch me when I couldn't fight back?
Yeah.
And it just popped inside of my mind. Like all of a sudden, for whatever reason, I didn't want to look people in their eyes. I was embarrassed, right? And I felt weak and I felt vulnerable. And I was like, this is what it would do. This is what it does to your spirit.
Yeah.
And I'm standing there and my whole crew is there and they're looking at me too. And I'm like, I'm deeply disempowered and scared and embarrassed. I was like, yep. And like all of the emotions exploded inside of me of how you're dehumanized by that kind of brutality. So that once that piece awakened and you get in touch with those emotions as an actor, you start to be able to call on them, and you call on those memories and things. But what happened is I ended up having to stay in that field for 9 months, and something happened to me that never happened before as an actor. I started to dream as the character would dream. Wow. I was having his dreams, right? And some of the images I was seeing were like full nightmare imagery, and it like popped open a well, and in the character well opened up inside of me, another part, a banished part of Will opened up also.
Yeah.
And it's just I became a brand new human after emancipation.
Wow. There was literally a part of you. I mean, I think about that too when I was listening to your book. I think a lot about Obama.
Yeah.
As a for instance, like the how he has to be, beyond reproach.
Yes.
In order,
yes.
It's like, oh, you wore a beige suit, like what I'm saying?
Right. Yes.
It's like
yes.
Thinking back to like Fox not wanting to cast you in Independence Day.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, oh, he's black. It's not going to sell foreign.
Yeah, yeah.
These are things that you're, even as your will and you're holding your confidence and you're holding your spirit up as an example for all of us and how to overcome. You're dealing with these things, and so like, there is. I mean, I think probably in all of us, in every Black American, there is probably some wounded part. I can only imagine what being a slave. Well, channeling that would.
One of the things that I realized in the last couple of years is we're all wounded. Wounding is existential. The specific parts of our personal wounding is unique to our experience, but it's not unique to humanity. Women feel the same kind of wounding with men. And there's a sameness to our existential wounding that makes us mistreat each other, right? And the recognition of our plight of all being dropped into this existential meat grinder.
Yeah, man.
This place of absolute chaos and brutality and confusion. And when I can find my sameness with you, we're less likely to fight about it. But if I need to prove somehow I'm worse off than you because of you, then, fighting is the only thing left to do.
Right. But the unique wound that you had that was exposed to this role, you feel led to this creativity.
I started to see code. That's why it was fun for me to do The Matrix.
Is that how you started thinking about The Matrix as an entry point to present the music?
Yes, I was like that. It is. We all feel that it's brilliant. The Matrix is brilliant, but when you really start to look at it and when you start to see the practicality of what it actually means. And in essence, it's the idea that you have a story about reality. And I have a story about reality. And neither one of our stories is actually true. Right?
Right.
We have my story is my father beat up my mother in front of me. And because of that, I felt like I had to sing and dance and make the house happy. And then that's how I became Will Smith. Right. And, I have my perception of myself that is nowhere near the actual.
There's a meta.
There's a thing that I am, right?
Yeah.
So Michael Beckwith has a really beautiful phrase. He calls it the friction of fictions. And he says, that's what people are dealing with. I am fighting for my false story to be true, and you're fighting for your false story to be true. And you see it in relationships, and you see it in governments, and you see where I am clinging to a story that I desperately need to be true.
Yeah.
And that's what I really like about The Matrix. It's like, that's not true,
And so you're making music now.
Mm-hmm. I know I'm going far, but we'll go back to music.
But I'm just trying to thread it together.
Yeah.
So really, this was, and it's you wanted to you had this realization in a real concrete way, and you felt the need to share this.
Yeah,
and that's where this different version of Will Smith, the rapper, the musician, and is coming from on this project.
In its most simple form, I feel like there is a new wave that's coming. Like we are going someplace in terms of consciousness, in terms of humanity, in terms of connection, in terms of understanding. And, I really do believe that the power of it is going to be in deeply and personally looking at ourselves and like the actual fiber of what's happening between us, like to truly understand like the nature of reality separate from your thoughts about reality, like biting down on what our thoughts and beliefs are versus, okay, I'm going to back off of that just a little bit to see if I can see what's really, truly happening in this moment. And it's like with my music, I really am trying to explore myself and trying to explore the world and trying to figure out how we can treat each other better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with that as the mission, and you have the words coming to you, how do you set out to do? I mean, I know you spent some time in Spain, and there's some great allusions to the Moors and Beautiful Scars, for instance. And like, so how do you start? But your kids are making incredible music. Like, how do you start to figure out like how am I gonna put this together?
So I start with, really simple, basic ideas. Like, the first song I released was called "You Can Make It," and I got a #1 gospel record. Like that was like quite a treat. But it felt like the most basic, kindest thing that you can say to another human being is to recognize that even though you don't know what they're going through, you know that everybody is going through something. In this room, you look around, every single person is going through something. That's what connects us. Yeah. Somebody just lost a loved one. Somebody's going through a breakup. Somebody lost a job. Somebody just got a diagnosis, right? Like all of that is happening in this room
pay
right
a bill.
now.
You lost a home, whatever.
In Los Angeles now, the fires. Yeah. Everybody's going through something. So to me, it felt like foundational humanity is, hey, brother, I don't know what it is, but you can make it. So I wanted to speak to that, sort of collective difficulty that I think in understanding that difficulty, I think that it potentially creates a higher level of compassion.
And then did it drift into, let's kind of make this essentially a gospel song? Like,
no,
let's
just
play
grew up
in
the
that
church,
field?
and that's just what happened. It was like I was looking for the sound that captured the spirit of "You Can Make It."
Yeah.
And Jason came in with the Sunday service, and he really, really blessed that track.
The Sunday service choir on that is incredible, man.
Oh my goodness.
And you did that performance, and you had Kirk Franklin. Unbelievable, man.
No, that was Chandler Moore also. I'm really searching. I feel like a brand new artist right now. I know I have nostalgia, and I'm definitely going to give people the nostalgia when I go on tour and performing the old music, but I'm really looking for the next phase of my career, the next phase of my artistry. I'm trying to find that next place,
right?
And I'm really excited to try to put words and imagery and sound to, the fire hose of ideas I'm experiencing.
Do you think there'll be multiple projects like beyond? I mean, I know you're breaking it into chapters. There'll be multiple chapters.
Yeah. Seasons.
3 seasons.
Excuse me. 3 seasons.
We were talking about the book, and I got on the chapters. Seasons. But it seems like, are you still like? Are you just? Is this something where now that everything's flowing? Like, do you think you'll just keep the?
Yeah, it's. There's nothing like music. There's nothing like music.
What do you listen to day to day when you're not making music? Like when you're going back to maybe, let's say 2015 to 2020, before you're in music making mode, like what do you?
Oh, what was I listening to back then? Afro beats was starting to pop, and I was looking at a lot of global music.
So you turned up with like Bomba Stereo in Colombia,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, and I was looking at what was happening in Korea. They were really starting to cultivate a music industry.
They make pop songs as good as anyone now. It's unbelievable.
They really took off with television. The Korean TV is wild right now. But yeah, it was global music. I was looking for, the sounds of the world. I really feel like the necessity of artists today is to get out ahead of politicians and make connections and make collaborations and create some understanding through artistic exchange. Before the misunderstandings turn into military action.
Yeah, that's the history of music, really.
Yes,
is artists being out ahead of the politicians.
Yes, absolutely.
We're going to go to Louisiana and Texas and record.
Yes, absolutely.
People on working fields and people, prison labor. We're going to go record this stuff and put it, and then that's how you get, rock and roll in the 50s.
I know, right.
So it's like that is the real explosion of creativity and music in the 20th century we think about is from that. So the idea of getting back to that.
Yeah, definitely the global artistic collaboration in today's world, I think, is imperative.
Yeah,
like it's imperative that we get to know each other and get to understand each other. And for the first time in human history, the infrastructure is available for that kind of exchange.
It's funny. I had during COVID, I had an interesting experience watching the Tiger Woods documentary that was on HBO.
Yeah.
Whereas Tiger's just like incredible, right? You grew up with she's insane. But watching that, I was like, man, it just seems like he, at some point, you see all the early footage with him on the golf course with his dad, and you're like, it feels like at some point, like, damn, like maybe he doesn't have a connection back to that. Like it feels like in some weird way, and his dad's gone. And it feels like this. It feels like a great tragedy when later in life we still can't find some connection back to who we are, these formative things. And
yeah, I think my experience is I'm currently in that space of trying to like tap back into that deep well of like essential me, and life gets caked on top of it, and the picking of a personality, right, is like, we have this constellation of things that we're going to let ourselves be, and then there's all these things over there that we're not going to let ourselves be, and we imprison parts of ourselves. So part of the process of what I'm experiencing is a little bit like a prison break, to kind of open that scary place where I take a really good look at what I really am versus what I want people to think I am.
It's amazing though too how we can even know these things and somehow get, because I mean you even have a cut from the early night, like Shadow Self.
Shadow Dreams.
Shadow Dreams. Where you kind of essentially there where you're saying that. You already know it's like there's these different.
You pulled that one from deep. You pulled Shadow Dreams.
I had to go
That's
deeper in
from deep.
It's a great cut, man.
That's
People
like
sleep on that cut.
Way deep hidden on the album.
People sleep on that cut, man. People sleep on that. People also sleep on You Saw My Blinker. Everyone's tripping. Will's cussing on records now.
Because
you ain't heard You Saw My Blinker, bitch.
That was Too Short's favorite Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince record. Where we went to Oakland and Too Short was like, that's the one. You'll never make nothing better than that. You Saw My Blinker, bitch.
Incredible, man. I want to ask you one more thing before you go, just because I got you here. Is it true that you met Notorious B.I.G. like for the first time
the night he got killed?
What in the world?
Let me tell you, like, and I don't even want to say this out loud because it's like a terrible jinx. I met Biggie, 4 hours before he got killed, and I talked to Prince 8 hours before he died. I talked to Prince and he called and he was pitching. He was saying that me, him, and Jay-Z should start an entertainment company. And he said he had talked to Jay and he wanted to do it. And we talked that night, and in the morning, he was gone. I don't know what that says about me.
Well, I don't think it. You have enough experiences in life. Look, things happen. Lightning strikes, and you have enough.
Oh no! I'm like, nobody, don't call me. Don't call me.
I think you've had plenty of phone calls. I'm sure you're okay. Don't take it that way. But that's got to be a disorienting experience to wake up and be like, oh, I just met this, or I just met this insanely talented, brilliant human, and now they're gone. Or I just had a phone call with Prince, who.
Yeah, no, the Biggie one made me cry because it was like stupid.
Yeah.
And it was like just centered on hip hop, like for rapping, and that one hurt me. It scared me too, but yeah, I'm not going there.
Okay, man. All right.
Yeah.
Well, man, maybe that was a dark note to end.
No, it was good. It was good. You're bringing the brothers down.
Bringing the rain, okay? Bringing the rain. Man, Will,
man.
thanks. I'm excited to hear the seasons.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see what else comes of this, man. It's been interesting. It's so fun to follow the journey on Instagram too. Just seeing what you were doing in Spain in the creation of the album.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Having this rollout and Beautiful Scars. The video came out this morning. It's and in true Will fashion, again, it's like red pill, blue pill, rational decision, rational.
I'm gonna take them both. Yes. I love that. I love that idea. Nope, take them both. I want both things.
It's incredible.
That's the paradox of this whole thing, man. It's like both answers are always correct. God will meet you down whatever road you go.
May we all learn to live like you, man, and just have it all, man.
All love, brother.
Figure it out.
Appreciate you. Thank you, man.
Thanks for checking out Broken Record on YouTube. If you want to listen to us on the go, be sure to subscribe to Broken Record wherever you listen to podcasts.